Uh-oh, Eli, my son. It's time for one of those talks. Stay tuned. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, we lead, and we inspire. And my son Eli is now at that age, that awkward age, between 11 and 25, where I as a parent have to relate to him, oh my goodness, and try and figure some things out. But by the same token, as he advances along in his life, there are some things he needs to figure out. And it being at the age of, I don't know, coming up on 17 pretty soon, I know one of the things he's going to be interested in is a car. My problem is, I don't know jack poop about cars, so what am I going to do now? Well, all I can do is explain things the best way that I know how to explain them, so let's give it a shot. First thing, Eli, about cars, you got to turn the key. You turn the key, you get started, and you're ready to rock and roll, right? That's all there is to it? Well, that's what I thought, but I found out that turning the key isn't the end-all and be-all. The more you know about things, the more efficiently you can get your engine to run. Now, this is true in your car, this is true in your life. So, you know, the old saying goes, the unexamined life is not worth living. You need to stop, take a look, take some notes, see where you are, see where you want to go, see how you're going to get there. That applies with your car, and it applies with your life. And every so often, you need to change the oil. The oil is what lubricates. The oil is what gives you the capability of running smoothly. Now, in a car, that's kind of self-explanatory because it kind of breaks down, but you're going to find that that same particular scenario happens in life as well. Change the oil. Take a look at the people that are around you. Are they still lubricating your mind? Are they still getting you to a position where you're moving forward? Or do you find yourself coughing, choking, stuck in place? Is that where you want to be? Is that what you want to do? Keep in mind, you need to stop and check the oil every so often. You also have to take a look at your spark plugs. Your spark plugs, they're the things that give you the go, that give you the motivation, that give you the boom to get moving. What spark plugs are you using in your life to keep you going? Are you just on a treadmill? Are you just existing? Remember the difference between living and existing. Don't just exist. Live. Have an ambition. Have a goal. Have a purpose. You know, it's so critical. It will make you run so much more efficiently if your spark plugs are in tune and your spark plugs are fresh. And while you're at it, you need to check your wiring and your connection. The closer you are, the more direct your connection, the more powerful. So the more, you know, if you have all these different extension cords, you know, that takes away from the power because you lose a little bit, you know, the more things you add on. Well, the more direct that you are to the source, the more power you're going to be able to use, to make useful. And this is true in life as well. If you can get to the expert, the mentor, and get the straight poop from that person, because everything gets filtered. The more people that tell you stuff, the more filters there are going to be. And that's going to take away from the potency of what it is you're trying to learn, of what it is you're trying to do, of the movement you're trying to make. So try and have as direct a connection as you possibly can. So check your wiring and your connection. What about antifreeze when your car runs hot? Well, what happens when you run hot? What do you do then? You know, the antifreeze, the coolant, what do you use to cool yourself down? You have to be able to step away. You know, when the car runs hot and the steam comes out of the engine, you can't work on it right then. You have to let the steam flow. You have to let things cool down, and then and only then can you make the corrections that you need to make. Think about that. One of my basic rules is whenever somebody really gets me angry like that, somebody close, I mean, you know, not somebody driving by giving me the finger, okay, but I'm talking about somebody that has some significant meaning in my orbit. You, for example, all right? One of the things I do is give myself at least overnight, I usually like to make it 24 hours, but let the antifreeze cool down. And then when it does, you're not acting on emotions. What you're doing is you're acting on logic. Because a lot of times you'll say something and that will be something very hurtful. And when you say something like that, you can't take it back. It's like, well, to give you an analogy that you're aware of, when you press the button on send, you can't take it back. It's out there, and it's out there forever. So be careful before you hit the send button. Make sure that you cool down. Make sure that your antifreeze has a chance to stop steaming so that you can be logical in your actions. And one of the things you want to do is to warm up your engine when you're starting your car. Let it flow. Let the fluid start to go. Let the engine warm up so that when you're ready to really put on the gas, you know, things aren't going to break down. Well, guess what? In life, it's exactly the same thing. You need to warm up your engine. Now, how you warm up your engine varies from person to person. You know, one of the things I preach from this pulpit is always give yourself some quiet thinking time, some alone time, some time to reflect, some time to plan, some time to envision, some time to communicate with the infinite mind, to be able to receive messages from the infinite mind. You know, some people call that meditation. I just call it quiet thinking time. You know, it's not super structured. You know, I always give myself, 20 things that I'm grateful for in my life, and you're always on that list, Eli, even when you're not so good, all right? You're always on my list of things that I'm grateful for. And when you do that, you put your mindset in the proper perspective. You're in a grateful mood. Gratitude is one of the best emotions that you can have in life. So be grateful. Warm up the engine. Get your engine so that you're ready to rock and roll when the bell rings. Sometimes you find yourself stuck in traffic. You're idling. So what do you do then? Well, what people do in their car is they'll turn on the radio or they'll chit-chat with whoever's there. You know, one of the things I like to do is I always like to have something handy that I can read. The idea is to turn quantity time into quality time. And when you're in traffic, when you're idling, you can make the most use of that time in a productive way by having something. Have something to listen to that's going to be powerful for you. Or if you're stuck at the airport waiting for a plane, have something to read. Plan, have something with you that you can do. I mean, nowadays you have your cell phone and there's always something that you can read, but have it planned out. So you say, you know what, this is something I want to listen to, and when I have a few minutes, I'm going to take those few minutes and I'm going to turn that quantity time into quality time by learning something. You got to give yourself this kind of a tune-up every so often. And one of the things is, the calendar is helpful. The calendar helps you. Every New Year people make resolutions and so on. But don't be a slave to the calendar. I mean, the only time that you don't want to be, you want to be romantic with your significant other. Is that on Valentine's Day, or do you want to be romantic on a regular basis? Does that make sense? Don't fall victim to the calendar. Set aside some time and, every single day, reflect. At night, think about the things that you want to accomplish. Visualize your burning desire. Plant that seed in your mind so that when you're sleeping and you're resting, your subconscious mind continues to operate, continues to work. Make use of that time. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just like 3 or 4 minutes before you cross the border from consciousness to unconsciousness to sleep. Plant the seed and give it the opportunity to grow, because your subconscious never sleeps, and take advantage of that. Most people aren't even aware of that. So that gives yourself sort of a nightly tune-up. Does that make some sense? Like any of us in any situation, bad weather can slow us down. And you have to be smart about that. One of the things that I hear from people is, oh, I got into a car accident. I was out in the snowstorm and this guy skidded into me, or I put my foot on the brake and the car didn't stop and I went into a tree, and so on. Sometimes bad weather is saying to you, hey, stop. That's how insurance companies, think about it. Think about it. Why should you be out in icy weather on the roads? Doesn't make any sense. Don't do it. If the weather is bad, then don't do it. But be ready when the weather clears up so that you can go out and do what you have to do. But make good judgments. That's the point I'm making, is make good judgments. People say, well, it wasn't my fault, the roads were icy. Yeah, it was your fault. You were out there when the driving conditions weren't good and the odds weren't in your favor. Make sure that the odds are in your favor when you're doing things. Make sense? Recognize that your car, when it's in motion, has momentum. And when you're getting, one of the things that you learn is when you see the stoplight up ahead, 100 yards away, that you take your foot off the gas, and instead of like driving all the way up there real fast and putting your foot on the brake at the end, you take your foot off the gas and you coast a little bit. And you coast and you get to that point where you slow down, and then you put your foot on the gas as you're getting there. Life is like that too. You want to keep the momentum going. Once you have something in motion, you want to keep it in motion. You want to keep it in motion because it's easier to get to your destination once you're in motion than if you're stopping and starting and stopping and starting. These are things that are true when you're driving. These are things that are true in life. Always remember that you want to have an airbag or seat belts for your protection. Every once in a while, you're going to crash. You're going to run into an obstacle. You're going to have to stop short. And the same thing happens in life. So what are your seat belts then? What are your airbags then? Well, people use different things for that. Some people use a combination of these things. One of them can be your religious, your relationship with your Creator. Another thing can be the relationship you have with your significant other. When things are running difficult, who is the person that you go to? I'd like to think that when you have some significant challenges that you can come to me and we can work things out together to help you see things. Keep in mind, I'm here for you. I want to be your seatbelt. I want to be your airbag, okay, to give you that little cushion when you're running into those challenges, when you feel like you have to stop short. I want you to know that I'm the one that's here to help you out. And no matter what happens, my love for you is unconditional. And you want to pass that along to the people that are in your orbit, that you care about, that you love, and it's not going to be very many people. It's only going to be a few people. But when you have that person, you want to have that unconditional love, and you want to be there for them, and that's an important thing to have in a relationship. Okay, well, I was kind of mushy today, Eli. I don't want to be that way all the time, but every once in a while, you know, especially when I have to talk to you about cars, things I don't know about, all I can do is relate to things that I do know about. And I always use the same motivation for myself, which is to not ration the passion, but to fashion the passion. And Eli, I'm your dad.